So I taught the moving from idea to finished draft class yesterday. And one of the things I was reminded of when I was looking over my notes is that, as always happens, no sooner, or at least within a few days of having finished the moving from idea to draft book, immediately something else appeared in terms of ways that ideas can manifest. So this is a little bit of a supplement to this, partially because one of the things I wish I had talked about in the book is the fact that story structures are much more complicated than writing classes will often lead you to believe. And the reason for that is that there is a very common story structure that a lot of people use, to the point where people will tell you it's the only one. And sometimes they will present it as it's the try fail, try succeed motion. And other times they'll uh, costume it as John Barth's Freytag's triangle, where it's, the tension is rising and time is passing, and then the level of tension drops. And the fact of the matter is, that's not the only story structure. It's a great one. And if you have a broken story, you may think to yourself, okay, let me take this structure and I'll map it onto this story. And that's a valid way of fixing it. But other story structures that I've hit, one is a sort of a day in the life of structure, or a period of time in the life of structure. That's one that a lot of Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales take that structure, at least a number of them, where it's something and basically it journeys through its day or its life, usually floating down the gutter towards depression at the end, and then angels take it away. Um, at any rate, another good example of this is, I would argue, Ray Bradbury's There Will Come Soft Rains, which is a day, very much a day, and yet has a progression. And that's because the basic story structure, the one that you can't skip, is something's gotta change. Things gotta change in some way. That's all that you need to know. And so, what are other traditional, or what are other structures you can use? Certainly, you can interweave plots. You can have things going between different points of view. You could have the same thing happening, for example, from different points of view. That is a non-traditional plot structure. And I think one good example of that, where kind of everything is connected by a single object, The Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell is a good example. Um, you can have a plot which is basically a repeated action over and over, with different results each time. And I think a good example of that is Groundhog Day. And you can say that you can map that against Freytag's triangle, or you can approach it from this point of view where you're trying to mess with a story and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to make it more like Groundhog Day. Another example is just an event repeating over and over, and we see perhaps from a different point of view each time, different point of view, different events, different perspective, different things, and we begin to change in our understanding of it. And Henry Lean teaches a class for me on East Asian storytelling structures, and I would rather let Henry talk about them. I think he does a great job. But this is one of the things that you want to think about: is an experimental structure is totally fine. One of the masters of this is Ursula Le Guin. One of my favorite pieces by her is the author of The Acacia Seeds, which is told in the series of well, there's scholarly journal articles about communicating with non-humans, and they're great. They're really, really great. And of course, Le Guin is the master of this. And another example, of course, would be those who walk away from omelas. Uh, is that try, fail, try, fail, try, succeed? No, what the hell is that? So that's a valid one. All of these things are quite valid as long as you keep in mind something has to change. So that drags me actually kind of far away from what I was going to say about additional plot structures. So I'm going to save that for another time and just make this entirely about story structures. So story structures don't have to be what you think they might have to be. And if you are trying to always make them adhere to that try, fail, try, fail, try, succeed structure, I don't know if you are always try succeeding, is what I would say about that. So explore other forms, look at other forms, and see what you can do to create that feeling of something changing. All right. And if you enjoyed this, there's links, there's little things to remind you to subscribe and to like and to comment. So please do. If this was useful to you, or if there is something that you want to see, let me know because I'm happy to adapt to that. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.